You ever sit back and wonder how a woman can lose a man who gave her everything, yet come running back the moment he's gone? That question isn't just confusing, it shakes your sense of reality. You gave loyalty, time and presence, yet she still drifted. And here's the truth. A woman doesn't remember the man who never leaves. She remembers the man who shows he can live without her. Strength isn't about clinging. It's about standing. Wanting her is human. Needing her is fatal. Because respect dies the moment she senses you can't breathe on your own. In a world where every man is chasing, the one who can walk away becomes unforgettable. Start this journey now, like this video, and subscribe to Stoic Station. And let me hear from you. Drop a 1 if you've ever given too much, or a 2 if you've learned the power of stepping back. I read every comment. Stay with me, because next we'll break down the first rule that separates men she overlooks from the men she can't forget. Let's dive in. 1. Need makes you weak. Choice makes you strong. She doesn't stop respecting you because you cared for her. Respect is lost the moment she feels you cannot breathe without her. A woman is drawn to strength, to a man who stands on his own feet no matter who stays or who leaves. But the instant she senses that her presence is the glue holding you together, the dynamic shifts. She is no longer pulled toward you, she is pushed away. Love can survive mistakes, but it cannot survive neediness. Because what begins as admiration ends as pity, and pity never fuels desire. Most men don't realize how quickly this trap sets in. A few unanswered texts, a pause in conversation, a night without her reassurance, and their entire frame collapses. Every glance becomes a plea. Every silence becomes unbearable. They confuse wanting her with needing her, but in truth, nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Yet so many men hand that power away, letting a woman's presence or absence dictate their peace. This is why women test, not to destroy you, but to know what you're made of. Every delay in her reply, every shift in her mood, every withdrawal of attention is not random. It is instinct. She wants to see if you stand or if you crumble. And here's the brutal reality. If you fail, she won't hate you. She will forget you. Because in her eyes, the man who cannot anchor himself will never be strong enough to anchor her. Desperation has a scent. You cannot cover it with charm, with gifts, or with endless effort. The more you cling, the less she sees you. The more you beg, the less she desires you. This is why Stoics spoke of apatheia, the freedom from being ruled by external desire. It is not about being cold or pretending not to care. It is about building such depth in your life, your mission, your health, your discipline, that her presence becomes a choice, never your oxygen. The man who can walk away is the man who already holds the power. He doesn't beg, he doesn't perform, he doesn't collapse. He knows his worth rests on unshakable pillars, pillars no one can take from him. And that is the man a woman cannot afford to lose. Tonight, ask yourself in writing, if she left tomorrow, what 3 things in my life would remain unbroken? Build on those pillars. Because the man who lives from abundance, not fear, is the man who makes her wonder if she will ever find his kind again. And that question, that haunting uncertainty, is the seed of desire she never expected to feel once you chose to stand alone. 2. Respect lives where boundaries stand. The fastest way to lose her respect is not by failing to love her, but by tolerating everything she throws at you. When you stop standing for something, you start falling for anything. And women notice that instantly. Men believe endless chasing, constant attention, and reacting to every shift in her mood will secure her loyalty. In reality, it does the opposite. Instead of making her stay, it makes her stay bored. When she knows she can predict your every response, your value evaporates. You're no longer the man she once admired. You become another face in the crowd of men who bend too easily. Picture Cobb in Inception. He spins the top and walks away. He doesn't wait to see if it falls. That is control. But most men never walk away from the top. They need her validation to keep spinning, clinging to every reaction like it's the lifeline to their worth. They don't realize that by doing so, they silently hand her all the power. And once you've erased your boundaries, you've told her without words that she can treat you however she pleases. Here's the brutal truth. No one treasures what they believe they cannot lose. Think about it. If she knows no matter how disrespectful she is, you will still answer her call, still rush to prove yourself, still show up with open arms, why should she value you? Why should she respect a man who won't respect himself? The longer you chase her approval, the more invisible you become. The more predictable you are, the less she desires you. Predictability kills attraction because it removes the unknown. And without mystery, love suffocates. A woman's desire doesn't thrive on a man who begs. It thrives on a man who leads himself. When you refuse to enforce your own standards, you're not being kind, you're being forgettable. And once she forgets what makes you different, the attraction that once pulled her to you begins to die quietly. Stoicism teaches self-mastery, the discipline to control yourself when every impulse wants to give in. Walking away when your standards are crossed is not cruelty, it is strength. It is declaring calmly and without anger that your life will not be dictated by disrespect. Respect isn't something you can talk your way into. It isn't earned by sweet words, endless arguments, or long explanations. It is enforced by the walls you refuse to let anyone break. A man without boundaries will always be used. A man with boundaries will always be chosen, because deep down, she doesn't want a man she can walk over. She wants a man she can look up to. So flip the power back, not to dominate her, but to dominate yourself. Lead with calm certainty. Walk away when you must. Hold the line you've drawn. That's how you show her your worth. Not by pleading, but by proving you will not betray yourself to keep her. For the next 7 days, practice the no-response rule. If she shows disrespect, don't argue. Don't explain. Withdraw calmly. Let your silence speak for you. Because when a man enforces his value without words, he becomes unforgettable. And that is the moment she stops questioning if you're strong enough to keep her, and starts questioning if she's strong enough to keep you. 3. Rebuild the frame. Reclaim yourself. She didn't walk away because you weren't enough. She walked away because you stopped being the man you were when she first met you. At the beginning, you stood tall. You had direction. You had energy. You had your own fire burning. But slowly, without even noticing, you started bending. You began adjusting to her moods, chasing her approval, setting aside your mission just to keep her comfortable. And every time you did, you chipped away at the very strength that made her attracted to you in the first place. This is why so many men lose themselves in relationships. They think sacrificing their edge will make her feel more secure, when in reality, it does the opposite. A man without a frame is like a ship without a keel, easily tossed, easily sunk. One day respected, the next day forgotten. She doesn't fall out of love because you lacked something. She loses desire because you abandoned the man she was drawn to. When your identity becomes a shadow of her moods, you no longer stand as a leader in your own life. Think of Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins. He couldn't save Gotham as the man he was. He had to step away, train, rebuild, and reclaim his strength before he could protect what mattered most. In the same way, you cannot hold a woman's respect if you've lost the frame that defines you. by clinging too tightly, by trying to preserve the relationship at any cost. You destroy the very foundation it rested on: your discipline, your independence, your masculine energy. She cannot desire a man who no longer stands on his own ground. This is where Stoicism offers clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that living according to nature means mastering what is within your control and refusing to be enslaved by what is not. Your discipline, your purpose, your health, your finances, your time, these are not luxuries. They are your foundation. They are the pillars of your masculine frame. When you strengthen them, you don't just rebuild yourself, you restore the gravity that naturally draws others, including her, back into your orbit. Rebuilding the frame is not about proving anything to her. It's about reclaiming the man you are meant to be. Because when you stand firm in who you are, attraction follows, not just from her, but from the world. Set one non-negotiable routine this week. Train your body daily, or guard one sacred hour for your mission. Frame is built through consistency, not bursts of effort. And when you reclaim yourself, you become the man she didn't expect to meet again, the man she realizes she cannot take for granted. And that's when everything shifts, not because you begged her back, but because you rose back into the man she thought no longer existed. Fourth, stop competing, start commanding. The moment you compete for her attention, you've already lost. Because the man who fights for her validation has stepped into a game where the rules are stacked against him. Most men don't even realize they've entered this silent race. Social media, dating apps, endless streams of comments and messages, her ego is constantly being fed. And when you chase in that environment, you don't stand out. You blur into the crowd. You become one more voice in the chorus begging to be heard, one more runner on a track designed to exhaust you. Think of the Don in The Godfather. He never begs for meetings. He never scrambles for scraps of attention. People come to him because his presence commands respect. That is power. That is sovereignty. Yet most men do the opposite. They run after validation, crown her the prize, and unknowingly cast themselves as the contestant. The moment you do that, you've erased your value before saying a single word. A king does not compete. He chooses. And here's the brutal truth. She'll smile, she'll enjoy the attention, and then she'll forget you. Because you've made yourself common. You've become noise, not gravity. The harder you run, the smaller you look. The more you push to be seen, the more invisible you become. Women are not moved by men who clamor to be noticed. They are drawn to men whose presence already speaks louder than any pursuit. This is why Stoicism speaks of autarkeia, self-sufficiency. To stop competing is not about ignoring women or rejecting connection. It is about anchoring yourself so deeply in your mission, your growth, and your peace that you no longer dance for applause. You don't chase because you are too busy building. You don't beg because your life already holds weight. And when you live that way, you don't just step out of the race. You become the finish line others aspire to reach. The man who refuses to compete becomes the standard against which everyone else is measured. He doesn't run in circles for validation. He creates value that speaks for itself. That is when women notice, not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying to prove what was already evident. This week, delete one platform you use only to chase her attention. Redirect that energy into building something of your own. The men who rise above the race never run faster, they rise higher. And when you stop competing, something powerful happens. She starts competing for you. That shift, the reversal of pursuit, is the moment she realizes the man she almost overlooked is the one she cannot replace. 5. Silence creates regret. Absence creates curiosity. Words can be twisted, ignored, or dismissed, but silence cannot. Silence cuts through the noise in a way that no speech ever could. When you are constantly present, when you always text back, always like her posts, always show up without pause, your devotion turns into background noise. She no longer hears it, she no longer values it, and what once felt rare becomes routine. Attention without scarcity loses its weight, and what she does not fear losing, she eventually stops cherishing. Think of the Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne didn't announce his escape. He didn't leave a letter explaining his plan. He was simply gone. His absence spoke louder than any explanation ever could. In relationships, the same principle holds true. As long as you're always available, she never wonders if you might disappear. And what cannot be lost is rarely treasured. A man who never steps back teaches her unconsciously that his presence is guaranteed. And guaranteed presence quickly fades into complacency. At first, your silence will confuse her. She'll act as though nothing bothers her. She might post more often, laugh louder, surround herself with people to prove she's fine. But silence has a way of growing teeth. In the quiet moments of the night, when the crowd is gone and the phone is still, the truth settles in. Regret slips into her chest. Regret for the energy she didn't return, for the respect she didn't show. Right behind regret comes curiosity. She begins to wonder where you are, what you're doing, and most importantly, why you stopped orbiting her world. Her mind starts chasing you even if her feet don't move. This is why silence must be handled with dignity. It is not about punishment or manipulation. It is about reclaiming your energy, protecting your focus, and letting your progress do the talking. This is the Stoic discipline of action, living so fully and so purposefully that your silence carries more power than your words ever did. When you build your life in silence, the echo of your absence becomes impossible to ignore. Absence is the mirror that shows her what she has lost, and it forces her to confront a reality she tried to avoid, that your presence was not a given, it was a gift. Practice a 3-day silent reset. No texts, no likes, no comments. Redirect all of that attention back into one project, one goal, one pursuit that elevates you. Notice how much mental power returns to you when you stop pouring it into someone else's validation. Because in the end, silence is not emptiness, it is gravity. It draws her thoughts back to you, and it plants a question she cannot escape. If he is gone from my life, will I ever find a man like him again? That question alone is the seed of regret and the spark of curiosity, and it only grows stronger the longer you stay silent. 6. Be the question, not the answer. She only truly values what she cannot fully predict. Desire fades the moment she knows your every move, your every thought, your every reaction. Men kill attraction not because they lack love, but because they suffocate it with predictability. When you become too available, too easy to read, too quick to respond, the mystery that once drew her in evaporates. And without mystery, passion quietly dies. Think of Maverick in Top Gun. He isn't magnetic because he's flawless. He's magnetic because he's alive, untamed, unpredictable. That edge keeps people leaning forward, unsure of what he'll do next. The same principle holds true in relationships. If she knows you'll always pick up the phone, always say yes, always bend your schedule to match hers, the sense of discovery is gone. And when discovery dies, so does desire. She doesn't dream about the man she already owns in full. She dreams about the man who still makes her wonder. The irony is that many men, sensing distance, try harder. They pour in more effort, more messages, more explanations, thinking this will reignite her interest. But the harder you push, the faster the spark suffocates. Overpresence is poison to attraction. The more you explain yourself, the less she wonders about you. The more you chase, the less she feels the need to move toward you. And once she stops wondering, she stops valuing. This is why Stoicism teaches measured detachment, engaging without clinging, loving without losing yourself, giving space for curiosity to breathe. You don't pull back out of anger or to punish her. You pull back because you understand the nature of desire. It thrives on space, not saturation. You allow her to lean forward, to wonder what you're doing, where your attention has gone, and why you're not orbiting her every move. That uncertainty reawakens the questions in her mind, and those questions are what keep her invested. When you stop being the answer to every call, you become the question she cannot stop asking. You become the thought that lingers, the mystery she turns over in her head late at night. And questions are always more powerful than answers when it comes to desire. Try the unpredictability exercise. Once this week, change your routine. Delay your response. Say no politely. Break the pattern she's grown to expect. Then watch carefully how her energy shifts. Because the man who is predictable becomes replaceable, but the man who remains just out of reach, who refuses to be fully decoded, he becomes unforgettable. And that is the man she will chase, not because he gave her every answer, but because he left her with questions she cannot put down. 7. Let distance teach her your value. You never truly appreciate the sun until it sets. Its warmth feels ordinary while it shines every day, but the moment it disappears, you realize how much you depended on it. The same is true with men in relationships. Constant presence breeds complacency. In today's world, where women are surrounded by endless streams of attention, likes, comments, messages, your devotion can easily become just another drop in the flood. Without scarcity, appreciation fades, and what was once special becomes background noise. Think of Cast Away. When Tom Hanks's character vanished, his absence reshaped every life he touched. People who once overlooked him were forced to see his value when they believed he was gone forever. That's the power of distance. If you never step back, if you're always there at her fingertips, she never gets the chance to feel what life is like without you. You stop being rare. You become routine, and what is routine is never revered. She may act strong when you step away. She may laugh louder, post more, surround herself with people to fill the silence. But absence rewrites memory in ways presence never can. A familiar song, a street you once walked together, a small reminder of your voice. All of it hits harder when you're no longer there to provide the comfort. And it's in those quiet moments, away from the show, that the truth seeps in. Distance forces her to remember what she took for granted. This is why the Stoics taught memento mori. Every moment is finite, therefore valuable. When you live as if your time is precious, you stop handing it away freely. You begin to create a life so full, so rich, that your presence becomes a privilege, not an entitlement. And in that space, she begins to recognize the weight of who you are. Not because you demanded it, but because she felt the loss when you stepped away. So design one pursuit, a mission, a skill, a discipline that she has no access to. Let your absence breathe. Let it work for you. Because when you create distance with strength and purpose, you stop being the man she assumes will always be there, and you become the man she quietly fears she might never find again. And that fear, that realization, is what turns absence into the sharpest teacher of all. Brothers, let me speak to you plainly. What you've just read is not theory. It's the truth about why so many men lose respect, desire, and even themselves in relationships. It isn't because you lacked love or effort. It's because somewhere along the way, you traded strength for need, standards for tolerance, and your mission for her moods. And the moment that shift happens, attraction dies quietly. Look back at the journey we just walked through. First, we exposed how neediness poisons desire. A woman respects choice, not dependency. Then we saw how boundaries define respect. Without them, you become forgettable. We moved deeper into the idea of frame, how losing yourself to please her destroys the very core of attraction. From there, we stripped away the illusion of competition. A king doesn't chase validation. He commands it by living in self-sufficiency. But it didn't stop there. We uncovered the power of silence, how absence forces regret and curiosity in ways words never could. We broke down why predictability suffocates desire and why mystery, the unanswered question, is the fuel of attraction. Finally, we faced the truth of distance. Presence without scarcity turns you into routine, but absence, lived with purpose, makes her realize your worth in a way constant presence never will. So here's the lesson I want you to carry. Women don't test you to break you. Life doesn't put you through silence and distance to punish you. These moments exist to reveal whether you've mastered yourself or not. Stoicism calls us to control what is within and release what is not. Your mission, your discipline, your standards, your ability to walk away, these are the unshakable pillars of a man. Build them, and you will never beg for respect again. Ask yourself now, if she walked away tomorrow, would you still stand tall? Would your life still carry meaning, momentum, and purpose? If the answer is no, then today is the day you start rebuilding. Because the man who lives from abundance, who knows his worth and refuses to betray himself, is the man no woman can afford to lose. And that's the kind of man you are meant to become. If this message grounded you, like it and subscribe to Stoic Station. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear the stand you've chosen to take. But don't just listen, live it. The next step? It's already on your screen. Click it now and keep walking toward the man you were meant to become. Your transformation isn't waiting in some distant future. It begins the moment you act. Don't leave it waiting.